John Gilroy, and I'll be your moderator. The title of today's webinar is How to Use Twitter to Promote Your Podcast. Well, why am I even talking about this? In the last couple of years, many companies have launched podcasts. In fact, 2019 had a record for the number of podcasts that were launched. Unfortunately, many companies aren't happy with the number of downloads they're getting. Instead of pulling the plug in the podcast, I suggest you exhaust all the free options you have to promote your podcast. A free option might be something like Twitter. Yeah, why not consider Twitter? There are 330 million people on Twitter? You can look up the statistics, all kinds of folks there. I think Twitter is a great way to promote your podcast and possibly have journalists discover your podcast to write about it. Now, who am I to say anything about podcasting and Twitter? Well, I've been on Twitter since 2009. In fact, I've sent out over 11,000 tweets. I use these tweets to promote my podcast. I have a podcast called Federal Tech Talk, another one called Constellations. I have discovered the magic formula, the magic sauce for using Twitter to promote podcasts. I'll give it to you right now. It's the hook, handle, hashtag method, and don't forget the image. Let's look at each one of these in order. What's the hook? Well, a hook is a startling statement. It's a fact. It's a paradox. It'll stop people from thumbing through the feed. For example, every year, 240,000 people die from drowning. That's a hook. 8,000 pieces of space debris circling Earth? Really? I didn't know that. 70% of the world's internet traffic passes through Dulles, Virginia. They call it Data Center Alley. Really? Is that true? Those types of statements will get people to stop the scrolling. That's your hook. What's the handle? Handle's obvious. It's the name, the person who you're interviewing. For example, if you have a podcast about cardiovascular fitness, you decide to do a show on swimming, you might want to bring in the author, who is Bonnie Tsui. Her handle is right there, Bonnie, Tsui. And if you include that in the tweets that you send out, you'll have a higher chance of the guest retweeting if they are mentioned in the tweet. Here's another example of a handle. A few years back, I interviewed Vince Cerf. We talked about the foundations of the internet. He's very well known in that area. Today, Vince is working on deep space internet. In other words, internet to Mars. When I did the interview with him, of course, I used his handle. It helped promote the COT podcast. So make sure you know how to use handles to promote podcasts. How about the hashtag? Not all hashtags are created equal. Please carefully select your hashtags. Do not just grab one randomly. A hashtag is much more like riding a wave than creating a wave. So what you want to do is go to places like #HashtagIfIMe or Right Tag and find out what hashtags are trending in your particular area of expertise. Okay, hook, handle, hashtag. What about an image? What you want to do is tell the story visually as well as verbally. If you're doing a story about distance swimming, you might want to include a picture of a distance swimmer. That's a picture of me. If you're doing a podcast about satellites, you might want to include a picture of a satellite. If you're doing a podcast about data centers, you might want to include a picture of a data center. Now, it's pretty obvious that two of these are stock photos. One of these is a real human being taking a picture. The real pictures are always going to be preferred when it comes to social media promotion. Okay. We've got the hook, handle, hashtag. So what we do is we take 3 columns, and you can use Excel or Google Sheets, whatever you want to do, and come up with 4 or 5 hooks, maybe a few handles, a few hashtags, and kind of like a chef, kind of mix them all together, and you have the tweet. The link I have there normally is a bit.ly link of some sort, so I can measure how effective it is. Before you put it on Twitter, you want to use an image of some sort. You can do that either manually with Twitter. You can do that with services like Hootsuite or MeetEdgar. All kinds of places can help you do that. One warning, though, you have to be serious on Twitter. You don't want to be too frivolous. For example, there was a guy named the Drunk Space Lawyer. Probably not going to get a lot of authority, thought tasks if you present yourself that way on Twitter. Okay, review. 4 parts of a great tweet. Hook, you got to have some kind of a startling statement. Handles the person you're interviewing. A hashtag is something that's trending, something that's popular, something that a journalist may search on to write about. An image is something, possibly a picture of the person who you're interviewing. My name is John Gilroy. I am the managing partner at the Oakmont Group. If you want more information on podcast promotion, come on down to the website. Next year, I'll be offering a 12-hour live course on podcast promotion. If you want to get in the wait list, go to the website, go to the pricing page. The next time you see a microphone, go forth and podcast.